Right, welcome to a bit of a video blog about the Aston Martin Vantage GT8 you see behind me. What is a GT8? Well, if you take the GT12, which is the extreme version of the V12 Vantage S, and put a V8 engine in it instead, that's kind of what you get. So it's got the 4.7 litre V8 from the regular Vantage. It's now got 446 horsepower, which is a little bit more than usual. It has, as we'll see, some fairly spectacular race car aero inspired bodywork. It's got quite a lot of weight trimmed out of it, as much as 100 kilos, and it makes a hell of a lot of noise. So let's have a look at what you get for your 160 grand. As you can probably see, you get a very big wing. Yeah, it's not shy, that. It is optional, so if you don't like the look of that, you don't have to have it. To get the full weight saving, you have to go from 165 grand, and although Aston Martin hasn't confirmed the exact options prices of everything, the final bill will be closer to 200 apparently once you've put everything on. So this being a press car, it's got all the bits. So we've got the titanium exhaust on the back there, we've got the polycarbonate windows which save a little bit more weight, we have carbon fibre roof as well, which obviously saves a little bit more weight as well, and we have these forged magnesium wheels with Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tyres on. Great for a nice dry day like this, thankfully. You'll also see here this quite interesting sculpted bodywork. That's a bit different from the GT12 actually, and inspired by the GT race cars, all of which are more closely based on the V8 than the V12, as it happens. So really, if the GT12 was all a bit kind of noisy and shouty and leery looking, the V8 version is probably closer in spirit to the race cars. It is down on power a bit, so a GT12 is 600 horsepower. As I said, this is 446, but there is a reason you might want the V8 even with that power deficit. If you look here, now if you see how far back and how low that engine sits, you'll get a sense of why the balance of this car is probably a bit better than the V12. When you look at the V12, the engine completely fills that engine bay. There's absolutely no space whatsoever, and it adds quite a lot of weight to the front of the car. Figures around maybe 60 kilos, maybe as much as that. So yes, it's more powerful, but as we know from the V12 Vantage S, it turns them into a bit of a point and squirt machine. Hopefully, the idea is this will be a bit more balanced and a bit more agile in the corners. That is the idea, at least. Probably enough talk and time that we went for a drive to find out if that's true. Right, so what can I tell you about the Aston Martin GT8 Vantage now that we're behind the wheel? Well, first thing you'll notice, look at that! It's a manual gearbox. Yes, we thought they were gone, now they're back, and Aston Martin is leading the charge. That is a highly commendable feature, and apparently as many as half the people who've signed up for this car, the 150 that have been ordered, have got a manual gearbox, so bravo you. Second thing you'll notice is the goddamn noise! That is outrageous. This is one of the noisier cars I think you can buy on the road. I hope you can hear me over that because it is extraordinary. Now then, does it sound better than the V12? I would argue it possibly does actually. The V12 is an incredible sounding car, but for my money this V8 has got a slightly harder edge to it, which I really like. It sounds more like a racing car, which of course is true to the GT8 spirit because it's genetically much closer to the Aston Martin GT racing cars that pound around Le Mans and compete in the WEC championships. This is good. Just let this chap pull over and then unleash some more noise. Any excuse to slow down is actually quite good. Let's go, there we go. That is outrageous. God only knows what it sounds like from the outside. So the other thing we were talking about earlier on, with regard to it being more like the racing car, was the agility from it having a smaller V8 rather than that massive great V12 up front. And I think you feel that. I mean, yes, the GT12 has 600 horsepower, but I think the weight distribution in this car just gives it a bit more flow. V12 Vantages are kind of point and squirt machines. They are incredibly fast, so fast, but you do feel that weight on the nose when you come to a corner. This thing seems more balanced and, as I say, carries its speed better, maintains its speed better. You don't get that punch in the guts acceleration, but turn-in's a bit nicer, and it just feels more balanced through the turns. What else can I tell you about the way it drives? It's a very simple car. Look, there's just one button here and it says Sport, because obviously you need a Sport button in a car that looks like this. Not entirely sure what it does. I think it might make it even noisier, but that's it. So there are no tweakable dampers, there are no diff settings, there are no multi-configurable steering modes. It's all quite old-fashioned technology, set up by people who really know what they're doing. What a novelty! Leaving you free to just concentrate on the drive without any distractions about, oh, would it be better if I was in Sport plus mode or race mode or track mode? No, none of that. It's got one mode and that is fast. So, what does that all mean? Well, the passive dampers got really nice feel to them. It's a stiff car, there's not much suspension travel, so when it gets really bumpy, it can get thrown offline a little bit, but the damping is absolutely superb. It's so quick. The body goes through the bump and then returns back to its composed state so fast without any real deflection unless it's a bigger bump. It's really nice. It's got a very natural feel to it. The steering is probably a little bit heavier than most people are used to these days. It's hydraulically assisted, of course, which again is a bit of a novelty compared with a lot of the rivals, especially things like the AMG GT, which has a horrible gluey electric steering. So it's all quite manly and macho, which is kind of in keeping with the Aston Martin ethos, and I think that's really nice. Cup 2 tyres are really nice on dry tarmac at least. I wouldn't want it to be raining much more heavily than this. It's a nice place to be. It's, you know, I mean, people say the interior of these cars is getting on a bit, but you know, there's plenty of carbon fibre. This new central binnacle from the Vanquish with its haptic controls is a lot nicer to use than the old one with all the buttons all over it. They've got rid of most of the kind of parts bin switch gear, and it looks great. It's got these nice lightweight race seats, which probably save quite a bit of weight. Aston Martin wasn't able to specify how much exactly. I mean, it's not exactly stripped back in here. It's not really a racing car for the road. It's kind of looks the part and plays the game, but it's ultimately still an Aston Martin Vantage, just one with a really stupid wing and an absolutely ridiculously loud exhaust. I would very much like to try it on a track. We're not going to have opportunity this time. You might struggle to find a track day that'll let you get away with that exhaust, but I have a feeling it would be really quite entertaining on a track. Would it be as sharp as something like a 911 GT3? Probably not. I don't think so. The engine isn't truck-like, would be a little bit strong, but it's the whole package is heavier and steadier than perhaps a razor-sharp 911 GT3 RS or something like that. But I think it would be an awful lot of fun. You might not be, and I think that kind of sums up the spirit of the car, you might not be the quickest, it might not win on the numbers, but in terms of putting a massive, massive smile on your face and being a right hoot, I think Aston Martin has absolutely nailed it. I think this is a wonderful car. It's just a pity they're only making 150.